Have you ever found the perfect reward for your child? Maybe they'll do almost anything for goldfish crackers, bubbles, or 5 minutes with a favorite toy. And then one day, nothing. They're completely over that item. If you've ever thought, great, even the reward doesn't work anymore, this video is for you. Today, I'm showing you 4 reasons reinforcement for autistic children can suddenly stop working, and one simple change you can make today. Welcome back to the 7-week Reinforcer Challenge from Autism Parenting Simplified. If you're following along, our promise is that over these 7 weeks, you're going to discover what truly motivates your child and learn how to use it to make everyday life easier. And day 4 is important because finding reinforcers is only half the battle. We also have to learn how to keep them valuable. With more than 30 years of experience supporting children with autism, one thing we've learned is that parents often assume reinforcement has failed when the real issue is way much simpler. Motivation has changed, and motivation changes constantly. Here's our first culprit: satiation. That's an ABA word, but the idea is really simple. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and you were absolutely starving? The bread comes out, and it may be the greatest bread you've ever eaten in your entire life. But 4 baskets later, suddenly you're not nearly as impressed. The bread didn't change, its value changed because you've had enough of it and you don't want it anymore. The same thing happens with our kids. Let's say your child loves bubbles. You start using bubbles after they communicate appropriately, and it works beautifully. So you think to yourself, we found it. Bubbles are the reinforcer. And then bubbles happen after communication. Bubbles happen after getting dressed. Bubbles happen after cleaning up. Bubbles happen after brushing teeth. And at this point, your living room looks like a wedding send-off, and your child couldn't care less about another bubble. That's satiation. Here's the aha moment. The reinforcer didn't necessarily stop working, its value changed. And that's an important distinction, because instead of saying bubbles just don't work anymore, we can also say bubbles aren't very valuable right now. And that gives us something that we can actually do something about. Have you seen this with your child? Something they were obsessed with last week suddenly becomes completely uninteresting. Let me know in the comments. The second reason is closely related. Your child already has unlimited access to that item. Imagine I tell you, if you finish cleaning the kitchen, I'll let you sit on your couch. Well, you're probably thinking, I already sit there whenever I want to. Why do I want to clean the kitchen for it? Not terribly motivating. The same thing can happen with our children. Let's say your child loves a particular video, and they can watch it throughout the day whenever they want. And then we say, first put your shoes on, and then you can watch the video. They are probably thinking to themselves, or I could just wait until later and I will get to watch it anyway. Now, this does not mean you need to lock every favorite object in your house in a cabinet and make your child earn every enjoyable experience. Please do not turn your home into a reinforcement prison. I'm begging you. The goal is simply to recognize that availability affects value. If you're going to use something strategically as a powerful reinforcer for a difficult new situation, think about how much access your child already has to it. Sometimes simply saving a particularly preferred activity for certain teaching opportunities can make it more meaningful. Our third reason, we're a one reinforcer household. We find something that works and then use it for everything. I understand why. When you've finally discovered something that your child cares about, you want to hold on to it like you've discovered gold. But over time, preferences can change. Think about your own life. Imagine every time you do something well, someone hands you the exact same snack. Monday, you get a cookie. Tuesday, you get a cookie. Wednesday, cookie. Thursday, please don't give me another cookie. Your child may feel the same. This is why we want to build a reinforcer menu, not find one magical reward. Maybe your child's current menu includes bubbles, a particular song, pretzels, tickles, a favorite toy, maybe it's a short video, swinging. water play, whatever your child actually enjoys. And remember from earlier in this challenge, we don't decide what's reinforcing. Your child's behavior tells us what's reinforcing. If your child doesn't care about the beautifully laminated reward chart you stayed up until 11:30 making, I'm sorry for your laminating loss, but the laminator does not get a vote. Your child gets the vote. Here's the fourth problem, and this one is incredibly important. Reinforcement is coming too late. Let's imagine you're teaching your child to ask for help. Your child says or signs, help. Great, that's awesome. You finish loading the dishwasher, answer a text, find the thing they wanted, and then 2 minutes later you say, I'm so glad you asked for help. The problem is that too much time happened between. When we're teaching a new skill, we want the consequence to follow the behavior quickly whenever possible. Why? Because we're helping your child make that connection. When I do this, this happens. Here's a simple example. Your child is learning to hand you a picture to request crackers. They hand you the cracker picture. You give them the cracker. Don't say, great job, we'll get crackers after I finish folding this laundry. At that point, the connection becomes much less clear. And this is especially important when a skill is brand new. I remember hearing a parent saying, but I praise him every time. So we looked more closely. The child puts his shoes on independently. Mom says, great job. And then immediately, now get your coat. Where's your backpack? Come on, we're late. Technically, the praise did happen, but from the child's perspective, putting shoes on led directly to 3 more demands. That's really useful information. Sometimes the issue isn't that we're failing to reinforce, it's that we're not looking at that whole experience from the child's perspective and what they're thinking in the moment. That's an important part of using reinforcement really well. The first is assuming they don't like it anymore. Maybe they don't. But before crossing it off forever, ask whether they've simply had too much of it recently. Second, relying on one favorite thing. Instead, build several options. Third, assuming expensive or elaborate rewards are better. They're not. I've worked with children who would choose 10 seconds of a silly song over a toy that costs $40. Please save your money. And fourth, deciding ahead of time what your child should find rewarding. Praise is wonderful, but praise isn't automatically reinforcing for every child in every situation. Neither are stickers. Neither is candy. Watch what your child's behavior tells you. Here's what I would do this week, and keep it simple. First, identify 3 things your child currently enjoys. Not what they loved 6 months ago, but what do they want right now in this moment. Second, choose different types if possible. Maybe 1 food item, 1 activity, and 1 social or sensory experience. Third, rotate them. Don't automatically use the same one every single time. Fourth, offer choices when it makes sense. You might say, do you want bubbles or music? Fifth, watch for signs that something is losing value. Are they taking longer to approach it? Are they leaving it after you hand it to them? Are they no longer willing to complete the same skill for it? That is information that we should be taking in. Sixth, deliver reinforcement quickly when you're teaching a new behavior. Make that connection extremely clear to the child. And seventh, keep updating your list. Your child's preferences are allowed to change. Actually, you should expect them to. And that brings us to today's challenge. Your week 4 homework is this. Rotate 3 reinforcers. Pick 3 things your child currently enjoys. Today, instead of reaching for the same reward every time, intentionally rotate among those 3. And then observe. Which one did your child seem most excited about? Did the value change throughout the day? Or did something work really well in the morning but not so much in the afternoon? Did offering a choice make a difference? You don't need a spreadsheet, and you don't need to collect 17 columns of data on this. Just pay attention. You might even write, morning, bubbles worked great. Afternoon, not interested. Music worked better. That's enough to start seeing patterns. And if you've been thinking to yourself, I should have known this, no, this isn't intuitive. Parents are constantly told, just reward the behavior that you want. But effective reinforcement is more nuanced than handing over a treat. Your child's motivation changes, their preferences change, the environment changes, and you're learning how to notice those changes. You're not behind. Your child isn't behind. We're gathering information and building skills one small step at a time. Small wins really do count. Consistency matters much more than perfection. And don't skip the lesson because we're going to build directly on this. Today, you learned that even a great reinforcer can lose its value. Next, we're going to keep expanding your ability to identify and use motivation intentionally so you aren't constantly stuck wondering, what am I supposed to reward them with now? If you're doing the 7-week reinforcer challenge with us, complete today's homework before moving on. Choose 3 reinforcers, rotate them, watch what happens. And if this kind of practical autism parenting support is helpful to you, subscribe to Autism Parenting Simplified. You can continue the challenge with us. Leave a comment, and I want to know, what's one reinforcer your child absolutely loves right now? You may even give another parent an idea that they hadn't even considered. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us today. Remember, we aren't trying to find one magical reward that works forever. We are learning to understand your child's motivation because when we understand what matters to our child, we can create better opportunities for learning, one small step at a time. I'll see you in the next video.